Is it worth it? Has it been worth it to install this kit on the car? Yes, indeed. We have now put 1,000 miles on our Supercharger equipped VR6, and I'm here to tell you, it's great. Really enjoying it. So I'm going to answer a few questions and talk about the Supercharged VR6 experience as I have, well, experienced it. My name is Brendan, aka Cliff Jumper, and for those of you who don't know why I'm called Cliff Jumper, check out one of my older videos. Yes, I actually drove a Corrado off a 300-foot cliff in Malibu 10 years ago, and so that moniker kind of was given to me and stuck, and yeah. By the way, I don't recommend that. 0 stars. Don't drive off cliffs. Trust me on this one. Anyway, yeah, 1,000 miles ago, I installed a used Z Engineering Supercharger on my VR6 Corrado, and you know, that was an entire experience. Like, that was a whole vibe. But I've had it on the car driving for 1,000 miles. I've driven it up to LA and back to some car shows. I've driven it to all sorts of different car events around San Diego County, and I'm just going to report back on what the experience has been like. And overall, it has been very positive. I'm really enjoying the Supercharged VR6 experience. It's smooth power, it's reliable, it's quiet, it's not dramatic, it's like, you know, like Nigel Tufnell and his guitar amp. This one goes to 11, you know, because otherwise, when you go to 10 and you just need that little more, just that little kick over the cliff, don't drive off the cliff, just need that little kick, where are you gonna go? This one goes to 11. Or in this case, it goes to like 6 pounds of boost. So it's great. It's just enough, and it's a lot of fun. Buying a used Supercharger kit did have its trials and travails that came along with it. There were definitely challenges. Supposedly, my kit was complete. Turned out to not quite be the case, and I don't blame the person who sold it to me, because I believe they did so in good faith. They had it on another car, and whether the process of removing it from the other car, they swapped parts around, or inadvertently picked up the wrong part when they were putting it all together or trying to keep it together, I don't know. I mean, this stuff happens. You throw stuff in a box, you end up raiding that box for parts for something else, and then you forget that you ever did that. These things happen, so I don't want to sound at all like I am casting shade on the person who sold me the used Supercharger kit. I believe that they believed in good faith that it was a complete kit. Fact of the matter is, if you're buying a used Supercharger kit, you should just be buyer beware and expect that you're going to have to use some creative engineering to make it work. It's probably going to be missing some parts. It's probably going to be missing some crucial thing, or there might be some damaged thing that you don't even know about. So just expect that that may be the case, and you'll be in better shape to do it. So when I got my kit, I knew that there were going to be some challenges, because the main boost hose that goes between the Supercharger outlet pipe and the inlet of the throttle body was not the part that came with the kit originally. It was an aftermarket thing that was obviously brand new and uninstalled, and it looked like somebody had bought it to replace the missing piece, which, you know, great that they were going to replace the missing piece, but it wasn't the right piece. So that was a thing. But because that piece was an aftermarket for an aftermarket kit, aftermarket part for an aftermarket kit. Yeah, say that 5 times fast. Anyway, we had to do some creative engineering, and you know, it's one of those things where you measure twice and cut once, and I measured like 5 times and I still cut it wrong. So I'm going to have to go and redo that, as I pointed out in some other video footage. I also noticed that in this used kit, the mounting hardware was not correct. it was supposed to come with some special collared bolts that would mount the supercharger bracket to the head, and it did not have those. It had some other bolts that kind of worked, but not really. They didn't allow it to be torqued down properly, and it was iffy. So I sourced some better options, some longer stud bolts that could go into the head, and I could use collared bolts on top of those to get it, and that has worked. But again, that put me back in my timeline. I wasn't able to do an immediate installation because it didn't have the right parts to begin with. So collared bolts wrong, and not having the right intake boot, not having all the pieces that I need in order to install the mass airflow sensor. Oh yeah, it did not come with the extended wiring harness for the mass airflow sensor that there's supposed to be a pigtail extension that plugs in. Didn't have that, so I had to make one in order to do that. Actually, what I had to do was modify my existing mass airflow sensor harness and extend it. And cobbling together some piping to be able to put my mass airflow sensor down in the fender where it needs to go in order to run properly. There was a lot of extra work involved. So if you are going to install a used supercharger kit, just expect it's probably going to take more work than the person selling it to you is saying, unless you actually literally saw it come off the same kind of car and it's going to go on the same kind of car. Coming off of a Corrado, going onto a Corrado. Coming off of a Mark III, going onto a Mark III. Just buyer beware, the Mark III installation and the VR6 Corrado installation are different. Not the same, Timmy. Not the same. So beware that these are all possibilities when you go to install your supercharger. One of the questions I've gotten a bunch of times at the in-person events that I go to, the cars and coffee gatherings and enthusiast club gatherings and car shows, as well as a few online, either on Instagram or YouTube. By the way, I do have an Instagram. You can find me out there. It's at Brendan Prout. Yes, I know. I've got a very creative name on there. You can follow me on Twitter as well and find me on Facebook. But yep, at Brendan Prout. So go ahead if you want to follow me there. Cool. But the question I get is, about the experience with driving the supercharged VR6 and all the challenges that have come along with trying to install a used kit on the VR6, specifically this Z Engineering kit, which hasn't been imported in a very long time, and well, some of the challenges that have come along with it. Is it worth it? Has it been worth it to install this kit on the car? And what is the driving experience like? And I'm just going to tell you, yes, it has been absolutely worth it. It's a lot of fun. As I've mentioned in other videos, it's not a crazy amount of power. It's not like I doubled the output of this motor. It's just a bit more, mostly in the upper mid-range and top end. And that's exactly where this motor needs it. The VR6 has got plenty of low-end torque. It's got plenty of part throttle torque. It's very drivable. Honestly, it's one of my favorite motors. Especially in the form that it came in the R32. Now, people will ask me sometimes, are you going to supercharge the R32? And I'll tell them, probably not. I really enjoy the naturally aspirated performance aspects of the R32. And as my Mk4 R32 is getting up there in age and mileage because she's driven, I'm getting to the point where I'm going to need to do timing chains. And when I do timing chains, I may as well do cams at that point. And that's going to be, when I do cams and the cam software, it's about another 20 horsepower, just being conservative. It's a good amount of bump, and it's right there in that mid to top end where the VR6 can use a little bit of help. Now, I'm already very happy with the Mk4 VR6. I don't feel like I need a lot more power on that. It's already a lot of fun. A little bit more would be all right. And much in the same way, the VR6 in this Corrado was already plenty of fun, and adding a little bit more to it, even better. So that's where we get to in this car. It's fun. It's even better than it was before. It's built to be a grand tourer for me to be able to enjoy driving some nice twisty roads, going on a road trip, driving up to LA if I need to. and enjoying the experience, and it absolutely delivers on that. And as you can tell with the noise that we've got here, freeway speed, it's really pretty negligible. It's definitely something I can live with, don't have to worry about. It's not attracting a crazy amount of tension from making weird, you know, whistly, pulley, gear-driven supercharged noises. Now, to be fair, if I were going to start all over and do this, and if I had, you know, $5 grand to drop into it, I would be tempted to go to VF Engineering and buy one of their brand new supercharger kits with the Vortec unit and have everything that I needed right off the bat, have the software that goes along with it, not have to look for anything, but be able to just go into what's probably this installation was supposed to be a 4-hour installation. It ended up taking 8 months because the rabbit trail of everything else that needed to be dealt with before I did the installation proper. And then once I actually got to the installation, there was a lot of trial and error with getting it to fit, getting it to work, because I was having to fabricate pieces that I was missing to make it work, and then damaged pieces because I didn't know what I was doing, because the instructions just aren't that great. Written documentation without any sort of video resources or any current expert knowledge to be able to go to and say, how is this supposed to look and how is it supposed to work? As part of the reason why I keep filming little video clips is most of us that are going to be putting this supercharger on their VR6, you're going to be getting a used kit, it's going to be incomplete, and you're going to have to figure out some of this stuff to make it work. So with all that in mind, would I do it again? Yes, absolutely. It's a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying the experience now that it's, you know, mostly working. And I'm going to say mostly because it's at about 95%, I'll say. I did the installation initially with a software company that I'm not familiar with. It's a company from the UK that, as far as I can tell, no longer exists. They're called Blitz. There is a UK-based software company that does make software for this, and I would be tempted to try out their chip and see how it works, but there is also a company in the US called C2 that does provide software for this application, and I'm probably going to try their software next. Hey, I've already talked to Chris at C2. They do have the software for my specific application, and I've heard good things about it, so I will probably try that at some point in the future just for the difference and see if there's any added benefit to having that. So software-wise, you know, what we've got is adequate. It's working, and I think it's okay. I checked the air-fuel ratio meter, and it seems to be in the safe zone when we're on boost. So that's what we want. Is it ideal? I don't know. Do I trust C2 more than I trust this company that doesn't exist? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The other area that I'm going to call 95% on the supercharger installation and build is the tensioner system on this. I messed up the tensioner bolt. There is a sliding bolt that you have a dual threaded thing on, and I messed it up. When we were doing the mock-ups of the installation, I damaged it. And because I damaged it, I'm gonna have to either remove it and re-tap this bolt and rethread it so I can repair it and use it properly, or I'm gonna have to source another bolt. It's worth it. Again, I'll say it's fun to have a supercharged VR6, and I definitely wouldn't dissuade anyone from the experience. The only area I would dissuade someone from adding a supercharger to their VR6 is if you're looking for like a massive, immediately noticeable gobs of added power. Like you're wanting to turn your VR6 into a Ferrari killer. That's not gonna be the supercharger experience for you. The supercharger is subtle, and it is something that you just have to appreciate in a different way. It's not like kicking you back into the seat crazy amounts of power. If you want that, get a turbo. But if you want that, you're going to have to deal with a lot of other issues, because along with the turbo, it becomes the underhood heat issues with a turbo, and all the things that get killed by the underhood heat of a turbo. One of the nice things about the supercharger is it's not generating a crazy amount of heat, and it's not affecting the reliability or the longevity of the motor or anything else under the hood. So again, a subtle amount of power adding, and you can live with it. But here's that belt squeak that I was talking about. Let's see if we can. Hear that? It sounded like it was air escaping, but it was actually the belt squeaking. So that's what I need to deal with. That'll be on an upcoming video as we figure out how to resolve that issue. If I can find another tensioner system, a used one, maybe somebody's parting out a Z Engineering kit and has this thing left over. We'll see. But at the end of the day, would I do it again? Yes, absolutely. Am I happy with it? Absolutely. Really enjoying the Supercharged VR6 experience, and highly recommend it. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you again another time. God bless. Make sure you do all the YouTube things. Hit like, subscribe, maybe even share it to your own social media if you have people who like, whooshy supercharger-y VR6 noises and all that fun. God bless. We'll see you later.
And on that terrible disappointment, it's time to say goodbye. We'll be back.